right, I guess we are live. I'll be sitting here one day.
When they kicked Winston, when the Labor Party kicked Winston Churchill out of office,
drunken stupor.
that's what they say. Was the red slide in House of
All right, guys.
Alright.
Go.
Okay, thank you all for being here. I understand that it's a little bit difficult to all sit here and blah, 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 blah. Long day, good talks. Thanks for all being here. So we recently had the Unity Conference in Sacramento, and I think a lot of people were able to go. What I'd like to do is talk to or hear from the people directly to the public, what you saw at the Unity Conference and your honest opinion, and we'll start from me and go this way. And then we'll do every question that way. So Hal, you'll do the last response.
Okay.
Certainly the best. And
I will do
you
my
were
best.
not able to
I
go to the
wasn't there.
Unity
I wasn't
Conference.
able to go.
We're going to go to Kiki. What did you see at the Unity Conference, and how did it make you feel?
Well, thank you, Marcus. I saw at the Unity Conference a situation where people who once had some walls in between them in communication, even though we're all secessionists, they were preventing us from getting together, and I feel like those walls are coming down. And so I feel like there's a lot more unity between the other groups since we were all for the same thing in terms of secessionists. So I felt that, there was a real good sense of people, communicating a little bit more effectively, trying to build relationships so that this can be a stronger unit going forward, and that we can gain some political momentum by numbers, by being together versus being alone. I felt that was what really kind of I felt throughout the whole thing and meeting everybody.
What was your second observation? That's your first one. What was the second thing that occurred to you, and then we'll go to Shane.
The second thing that occurred to me is the Cascadia movement. I was super impressed with their presentation. And, we'll talk about that later, but, it really gave me a really good picture of, a secessionist movement, and, they gave some really good tips on how to get the message across and get everybody on board.
Okay, Shankar. What were your big observations?
My big observations. Well, first, my biggest observation is it's about time.
Woo!
Okay.
I don't get what you mean.
Well, I've been trying since being part of this movement to just kind of coalesce everybody, and it's just like it's been a nightmare. So this convention was
No, you're not really crying.
no, it was a long time coming. I'm glad it happened finally. We got some plans in the works, including running candidates, including having another convention coming up. The Cascadia people I like too. They've been doing it for 20 years though. 20 years, guys.
Wow.
20 years, okay? Now, when they approached us in 2016 to find out, what's the next move? Like, they were expecting us to do something for them as far as becoming separate. And I was just like, who are you people? Who are you guys? 2 years ago. And, it's since know all about them and their presentation on point. I got a little Cascadia Antifa patch from one of them. She gave me an Antifa patch from the Cascadia. It's got the 3 Douglas firs behind there. But yeah, all of their stuff is on point. But I said it's 20 years in the making. It's a Cascadia
Diversity.
bioregion is the new term. The new
get it either when I
the new campaign that they're doing.
That's your class.
And it's a coalition. It's a coalescing of the past 19 years of the different formations it's gotten into. Now it's Cascadia bioregion, and it's on point. And hopefully, the way that we have it structured here in the independence movement, we have a political party, and then we have the C4 advocates, and we need those two branches. There's always going to be the political party, the advocacy groups. I hope there's a dozen more that pop up, and like in IC, like Yes, like CFC. I hope there's a dozen more pop up, and learn to work with together and with even each one take on an issue and learn to work with the CNP.
What are you
really
trying to
work with the
complicate our
CNP.
lives here?
But yeah, I thought it was a
Vice versa.
good first step towards realizing sovereignty for the great state of California. Thank you.
Matt
Yeah,
Owens.
California.
Matt Owens, top 2
No
observations.
S, no S, no S. Yes, well, okay. The Cascadia movement encourages me very much. That the sort of movement that I'm a part of to reunify Gran California has its very strong echoes just to the north of us on the Pacific coast. Okay. As it turns out, we are joining a movement that precedes us. True, there are 40 million in Alta versus 4 million in Baja. Okay, so we have a few less. They have a few less constituents to worry about. But you know what? They've been at it since at least 2012 to achieve the unification of the peninsula, which is 2 Mexican states, and to achieve its independence. When they found out that Alta was going for it too, they said, "We want in." Okay, this battle jack I've been carrying into battle has been adopted as a national flag for us by the Baja independence movement.
Oh, they've taken the
Yeah,
Really love it.
Estrella Roja.
What
Estrella Roja Rojita.
Oh,
Ya está la bandera nacional de todo Gran California, pues. So they've adopted it as
oh
the
yeah,
national
it's
flag.
there. It's there. Sorry.
Yeah, they've adopted it as the national flag for the reunification of Alta with Baja. Okay.
What did you think about the conference?
The conference evinced very strongly this move towards this future we all share. We're shedding the baggage of the past, okay, bit by bit, and we're moving on to the future with a serious effort at a third party, with at least 2 organizations that field ballot petitions, with an institute or 2, with a direct action branch that I'm very proud to have fought within, fighting fascists, okay, which is where this flag first reappeared, by the way.
That's right.
In my hometown, by the way.
That's right.
And so all of a sudden, I see this, unification conference, and like Shankar was saying, it's about bloody time, okay, that we shed this baggage and move forward together, okay, because that's, the lesson here. That is the lesson that MIBC and Baja has been driving home. They've managed to keep themselves together as MIBC. They started out as the Peninsular Party, as attempted a 3rd or 4th or 5th party.
From Baja California?
Yes, the PPC, and then they says we want to be bigger than a ballot party. We want to be a national liberation movement.
Hey Matt, could nobody from the Baja California independence movement come up to this community conference, or?
I know someone, but who, like other people both to the north and to the south of us, it's a difficult, it's
Get up to Sacramento? Yeah.
Sacramento, yeah. But even it's difficult to get them here in LA, just like it's difficult to get people from the north here to LA. But that is why they proposed that Gran California's capital be in LA. Okay, it is the political center of gravity. They further proposed that upon reunification that you have 4 regions. Alta Norte, which, headquartered in Sacramento and with diplomatic offices in San Francisco. The national capital would be in LA, which adjoins both Baja Norte and Alta Norte.
So
the
I
I got something to
conference.
say about Baja California.
A little bit more, Matt, and then I want to move on to Daniel and Hal.
So, anyways, to me, the Unity Conference is extraordinarily encouraging. I'd like to see more of them. Very much so. To bring and eventually I would like to see someone from MIBC directly involved with that, rather than me acting as ambassador, which I do.
Yeah, next time, next Unity conference, have one of them reach out to.
Yeah.
Let's have a rep from down there as well, for sure.
Well, Jay has participated in these conferences, and so by internet. So
Yeah,
that's
Jay's
actually
cool.
very important.
Yeah.
And his English is incredibly good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We could do it. We could Skype him in or something. I mean,
Yeah.
Jay Arias.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Giardius, yeah.
The master.
Oh, okay.
Daniel.
Let's go to Daniel, and then we'll go to Hal.
Okay.
I'm going to reiterate real quick what Hal said earlier, and this goes for Shankar, me, and Hal. We all started with Yes California. I came in right when Yes California was merging into CFC. So like Hal said, we had all the T-shirts. I had like 4 different T-shirts. Went to CFC. Then that kind of got divided. Then created Independent California. Which I'm a co-chair of, and then reunited with Yes California again. Once again, these 4 organizations. We all had talked within the movement with Shankar and Hal about, we need to stop bickering, we need to unite, all that, but it was just talk. And throughout these conferences, Marcus and I started talking and going, there would be a novel idea maybe that instead of talking, what if we called Steve Gonzalez? But, there were drifts between leaders from the different organizations. And so I said, look, I'm willing to go into Yes California as a state secretary and to merge everybody in there because I've been in all these organizations and I know them all. Yeah. I know all the people in them. I know Steve Gonzalez, I know Dave Marin, I know all the people that drifted in and out. And so we actually took action. And we actually called Steve.
Yeah.
We actually called Theo. We actually called all these people that had been set apart for some idiotic reason because of time passing by this time. So everybody saw the error of their ways of, okay, we're either going to keep separate and not combine our resources and fail, or we can be united and be successful. And to that, I'm really proud to say that this achievement, the Unity Conference, is the making of like 6 months of work, of getting in touch with everybody, of saying, yeah, Steve, you don't agree with this, but it would be better. And then what I saw at the Unity, I wasn't there, but I saw all the videos, everything, is that people actually came together and there was no bickering and there was no insulting and there was this, and everybody was happy of that same cause. And it took all that to really slowly bring everybody together. And this is a goal we've had since Yes California, to reunite, because each organization kind of separated from each other, and we did it.
I have a picture of Marcus and Theo having a beer at the first bar that first night, and you guys were chatting. You had your phone up. Man, I took a picture of that. I was like, dude, I can't believe this is
it's
happening
great.
right now.
And he actually, they talked on the phone with Steve Gonzalez. I mean, they hadn't talked for forever, and so that this is a huge.
Were buried.
It's a huge milestone. I mean, we look at it kind of a small thing, but it makes sense that we should have all been united in the first place, but it wasn't an easy thing to achieve. That was in theory. So I'm really, really proud about that we achieved that, if anything, and that now we can go forward and unify other movements, bring in other movements, unify them under the independent movement platform. And my second point, which you've asked, is, and Hal mentioned this and everything, so that's why I want to bring it up, is I think we unveiled with this Unity Conference our common logo name. That's CIM.
The
California
uniting logo. Whatever.
Yes,
Uniting,
California Independent Movement, because Hal mentioned that everybody that came separately from the north, from the south, naturally said, I'm part of the California Independent Movement. Right. They didn't say CalExit, they didn't say Independent California, they didn't say that, they just said, we're there. So that's a great unifying general thing that we can all fall into, that CFC, all the 4 organizations, CIM, California independent movement, that's a great thing to unite everybody because it doesn't offend anyone because we're all part of that movement. And we can keep our own identity as Independent California, CFC, Yes California, and still be within a common cause. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, everyone, for working so hard to do that. Thank you.
After Hal goes up, that's when I
Yeah.
that one, but before Hal.
Oh, well, where do you start? Actually, with the impressions that I got, first off, it was good to put faces to names and actually meet some of the people who we are working with in this movement, who we don't generally get to see. It's like I had never met Theo.
Oh, really?
I never met Theo. I never met Michael.
Oh, wow.
And those guys are dedicated, intelligent, terrific people.
Right.
It's couldn't ask for better up there. The exchange of concepts and ideas was excellent. There are things that I learned that I took away from it. One of the most poignant being, I thought the Cascadia movement was a tremendous presentation, but one of the things that they put forward, and it's a place where we might be able to learn a few things, was their relationship with the indigenous population.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Their relationship is a very two-way street, very discussion, very not us and them conversation, but a very we conversation. That's terrific. I mean, it shows not only a tremendous amount of respect, but a willingness for everyone to work together, and that's amazing. We saw a number of different plans, a number of different things, and everybody was speaking from their perspective. But it struck nobody that anybody was not already on the same page. We all.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, while I'm sitting there, they're saying things that I've been saying, and I've people who I have never met. I've never spoken to them before. I've never had any kind of a lengthy conversation, or even basic conversation when it comes to Theo. And Michael Loeb leads off with, "Well, as members of the CIM, the California Independence Movement," I'm like, okay, I wasn't going to mention that. I wasn't going to bring that up.
Get out of
He
my
was going to
head.
bring that up.
What's that?
You wanted to bring that up. You wanted to, but here's Michael stealing.
It's like like I was telling you earlier. It's like I walked up to Michael afterwards, and I'm like, I'm a big guy. I walked up to Michael, and Michael's a very nice fellow. But I walked up to him and I put the eyebrows down and got the face going, and it kind of like, you know what you just did? I want to talk to you. I should be angry with you. And I'm leaning. I was like, you just made me drive 300 miles to hear you say exactly what I was about to say. And it's like, no, seriously, it's a joke. It's okay. It's cool. It's like, it's like, ha ha. Yeah. It's like, okay, so I came 300 miles, and you guys were already on the page with us.
Yeah.
So there's an element of comedy here, and we need to get past it.
Yep.
But it's truth. We're like 95% on the same page with each other.
Yeah.
There are differences in how we might do things. I am very, it's like I'm reading through the CNP's book. I agree utterly with them almost on their gun control.
Yeah.
I agree almost not at all with them on their military service.
Yeah. Mandatory military.
Mandatory military service.
Oh, yeah.
I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with that.
That's because. That's cool.
But we're like 95% on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who aren't even in any kind of ongoing discussion, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, it's like you're
For a platform and
for a platform we're reaching
You're
when we're
like
reaching the
95%
same
on board.
when we're reaching
Yeah.
the same conclusions, and we haven't had any discussion.
Well, you have the same analysis and the same facts.
Well, it means that we're all moving from the same math.
Right.
That's what I meant.
We're all
That's what I was saying.
yeah, we're moving from the same math. we're discussing from the same. We're coming from the same places. So that's what I got out of it. It was a magnificent conference. For all the library and the difficulties. I mean, I've got my
Theo.
Well, I would say it's
Last time, Theo.
yeah, but you know what?
Hats
Hats off to everybody who worked to put that on.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. Absolutely.
And it's like
Yeah,
for the
good
organization for the organizational efforts
Yeah.
Good job.
that they put in, that you put in.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, thank everybody. It was one of those things. It's like, and it was terrific in this aspect, you know.
And what from what I've learned from all of you, the main thing wasn't even the speakers themselves, but it's how you guys backstage started to make connection. That was much more
Yeah, that
important
was
than just
after
having
was-
people doing their speech. You know.
Well, think about it this way too. Considering the degree of rancor, you know, a year and a half ago, or when things started, when that caused the division, that caused the splits in the first place. This could have gone very badly.
So,
Yeah.
in fact, that's what I was going to say
Yeah.
after you went. So, I mean, Dan, you were talking about, not seeing Theo and Marcus together out the mirror. Well, guys, I mean, a majority of this splitting has to do with the media. I blame it almost 100% on me. Now, certain people did certain things to the media which caused it, but the media is what tore us apart, I feel. And we have to be careful moving forward with that, guys, because they will do it again. They
Yeah.
will rip us
Resolve.
apart
We don't
again.
let
They will,
anyone-
they will, yeah.
Don't let any Russian residents
They are going
lead
to-
this movement. Huh?
They're going to find
That is
Russian
definitely
or
not something to
listen,
do again.
Hannah, before it was Russian, it was Chinese, and then it was Iranian. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
they're gonna come
they're
up
just-
when
they're
we become popular. They're gonna come
they-
up with
they're tearing
something
you
that we're
apart on
communists or
national
we're this
TV.
or whatever. It doesn't
it's
matter.
devastating.
They're gonna
It's
come up with
devastating in
something.
any movement. And,
Yeah.
and
Well, yeah.
that's what I want to say about what Dan said, and then what you said about what Michael was saying was what you were thinking. I mean, you will find out. Like, I've been up and down the state and seen visited lots of these chapters, and you'll find that even people that aren't even in the movement, you talk about independence in independent California, you'll find people suggesting the same things in San Jose that they're saying in Oceanside on strategy. And they'll be like, they'll say it like as if it's brand new and that they thought of it, and you're like, dude, this is Tim's plan from up in San Jose. That's come. But I mean, it's
Let 'em
there's
have-
nothing new.
let
People
'em
are
have
always
it.
thinking,
Let 'em
you
have
guys
it.
should do this, you guys
Yeah.
should do that, and it's like, it's if you were a fly on the wall for our discussions, you could see that we talked about that already. We were in there, so. But I forgot my last point. Your last point was I forgot, what was the last point again? We were talking about rancor.
Rancor. Yes.
Yeah.
This could have gone badly.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good point.
So I don't think if it went badly, that would have been awesome too, because it was an attempt.
Yes.
It was an attempt at unity, man, and I'm glad it happened. Look, dude, I've gotten in my share of fights within the org too, bro. I mean, I'm not innocent.
I
of
think
of
we
anything
all
either,
have.
man. I mean,
We all have.
it's water off the duck's back, dude. It's just
Yeah.
on the bridge. This is not let's look.
No, I know. I mean, the real thing here, if we think about it, is that when you have people like this, when you have a group that are like-minded, where the same concepts are passing, where the same methodologies, where people are actually discussing how to achieve the same goals, even though they haven't been discussing them in the past, what you have is an organic structure.
Yeah.
Organic structures tend to be the strongest structures you can have. Things that and in a political movement, if you have something that is growing up naturally, it is growing up because that is the way it needs to be.
Interesting.
Then that means you've got a strong basis to move from. That gives you a strong base. The direction we go from here, is a matter of discussion. But if we can keep the movement together, avoid whatever shattered it in the first place. Avoid what shattered in the first place. Then what you're going to have is a structure that already comes with its own battle scars. And And those battle-scarred structures like this are usually terribly strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's hear from Hannah. I feel like you got some knowledge. I can just feel it emanating from you. Now, I want to say something, but what are you thinking? I can just feel ideas just coming out. What's going on? What's in that brain?
Number one, I just want to point out that independence is fine, secession's fine, but I point out from the international law perspective, we got to emphasize liberation. And that goes back to the history of California and the United States conquest of the state of the country and things like that. So that's why I've always been saying I'm going to still remain with California liberation, and I want this to be the California liberation movement because I want the whole wide world, literally the whole wide world, to know that California was independent already, and that I think is very important to frame this issue properly. But I was saying it's as far as the movement goes, I just want to say that. While organizations are important, it's really important that we work together on things and get stuff done. Thank you.
Does that mean you will run for political office?
No, don't put me on that spot. But
What the hell?
I already told you what I feel like we need to work on first. I feel like we need to work on just getting the name out there. As well, by using
California Independence Movement?
No, by Grand California Cares. That just do something like that to get some. That was my presentation today. Saying, let's go out, let's get organized, start raising money, start getting some names, start getting some connections, start being known as a legitimate force, and breaking the barriers across the border too. You want to connect with Baja? Well, the first thing to do is connect this way. Make everyone in Baja start thinking, my God, there's 39 million people over there with a gigantic economy that dwarfs all of Mexico.
It dwarfs
and
Russia.
could really make things better for the people over there lives, if in the way that they want, of course.
Yes.
Respecting their sovereignty, respecting their interests. So I just want to say that, it's fine to have the communication, but we need to have, a good example actually is the email list. We got, one reason people aren't hearing about this is we got, 5 people or something that chime in on our discussion. I did that one thing about, remember the red fist graphic? And that got about 7 people commenting. That was one of the most intense discussions that was held. There's 20-some people out there, and almost none of them, either not reading the emails or they have nothing to say whatsoever. I kind of believe they're not reading the emails. So that is really the can't be overemphasized, that if people are enough to say, I'm going to be leading any CNP or IC or whatever a group, at least they got to be figuring out how to, line up projects and achieve them. Because you just can't just constantly batter away on Facebook. And Marcus, of course, has made a lot of, let's not point out, all the YouTube videos he's been making.
It's content.
He's
doing the right thing.
And everyone should be liking every single thing that he puts out. I don't care even if you don't watch it. Don't watch it. Go click,
It's too much, dude.
True. She's right. We should all be liking each other.
Yeah, absolutely right. Go ahead.
Okay.
And sharing.
What do you think about the Unity Conference, or the idea of the Unity Conference, or the idea of the different organizations coming together after so many years?
Yes.
Well, I think that it was fine for everybody to do that, but I was saying that organizations are members, and they're not individual people. I don't know what what resources these organizations actually have. I'm serious. How many email lists do they? How many email addresses do they have? How many email addresses that are actually active?
Why don't you join them and find out?
Because, I don't know. But I know one thing is I know what I'm working on right now, and I'm going to do it. But part of it is to get those 9 million supporters on our connected. Should be everyone's first. I believe that should be everyone's first goal. We've already got a lot of supporters. Get them organized and activated. Yeah. And that's not achieved by 5 or 10 or 15 people. I'm so sorry. You got to any political operative, anyone who's making a full-time life living in politics, will tell you my email address, my email list, absolutely vital. But won't let you touch it. They won't. They treat it so secret as more money.
Absolutely.
But because I don't think there's something. if you don't know, I'm on a lot of goody two shoe lists myself. Move On and Indivisible and whatever.
Yeah.
And I can see how they will take any hot button issue. You see what Trump just did,
Yeah.
and they'll send me an email and saying, "Click here," because they're just trying to get my email address. And then maybe those little button that says, "I agree to receive continued communications from this group or that group." So I mean, that's what should be. That should be done at the minimum. And I also tell you that it's not expensive to do. It is not costly to set up. In fact,
We used to do that.
in fact, Act Blue.
How's
It's
the program
perfectly,
in
perfectly,
you're
you know,
right.
useful.
It'll
Anybody
work for
who's, I mean, it won't for
It's a good
CNP,
platform.
but anybody who considers himself a candidate for a Democratic Party office is able to use Act Blue. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of
Yeah,
options.
we should
I just
have
feel
that
that
infrastructure.
that's what when you talk about everybody sitting around and everybody knows it. I don't hear this from other folk. I'm like waiting for someone to just say, "I'm watching how other people are successful organizing. I'm going to use those methods."
Well,
Very good.
I'd like to go.
Speaking of,
I haven't gone yet.
accept.
Yeah.
So let me just
Your voice is going to fail.
let me summarize where I
God
think
bless
we're
you.
at. So we had the Unity Conference and it was great. That's why we're having this discussion right now. There was a big Unity Conference last weekend in Sacramento, and that was the first time that all of the different organizations that were created since 2016 came together. I just want to make sure that that's clear. That's why we're having this conference panel, is to inculcate and concretize this moment in time. I think that we've had what I would call a political Gettysburg in the struggle. And what I would like to remind everybody is that Gettysburg was not the end of the war. It went on 2 more years, just as long as it had been. But it was recognized by Lincoln because it was clear they were going to win. So they knew which way it was going, and many more people died. But they marked that because it's like, so, and I feel that this Unity Conference is the key. I gave a speech at that time. I think this is the best time in the movement. I don't want to dwell on the past, but like Hal's covered, like Shankar's covered, like Daniel's covered. Originally, this movement idea has gone through many iterations and looks. It was originally Sovereign California in 2014. That was the first ever, let's be more like a nation. We didn't even say secede. We were scared of that word.
No, I
We said more. We
Do
thought
not
like
say the S
Scotland.
word.
Yeah. We thought like Scotland, more independent.
like
Way more free.
autonomy.
Yeah, but way more than we have now.
Yeah.
So like even
Remember CFC?
the more tame vision that Sovereign California had is a ton more stuff that we don't get to do today. It just wasn't full on break. I want to make that clear. It was like we get to do our own immigration, climate change, trade, you almost damn near you name it. We kept the military and the dollar together. So we would have been very close to fully independent. But we couldn't do secession. Then we realized nobody can say sovereign. I'm not joking.
Man, no.
And this is what I mean. Oh, don't say this word.
Sovereignty.
We had this conversation.
Sovereignty.
Don't you say secession.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
say independent. How
Right.
dare you? We say more autonomous.
Yeah.
Now you gonna spell it for them? Because
Yeah.
they don't know autonomous.
Right.
You know, it's gotta be.
Autonomous, that's a hard word.
Isn't
too.
that the guy with the Guy Fawkes mask?
Yeah, it's David. Let me get a couple points out, and then because I'm gonna be quiet and let everybody go.
I need my notebook, but go ahead.
David Gregory was right. You need to be able to walk up and go, "I'm a secessionist." Not, "I'm a secessionist." Just like, yeah, my name's Marcus. Yeah, I'm a secessionist. Whatever. He's right. And so we moved from Sovereign California, they can't explain it, to Yes California. We borrowed that directly from Scotland because of marketing. It was really easy to say Yes California. It sounds positive. Same thing David Gregory's found out. You got to be very clear what you mean. It's got to be very obvious. Secession.
A complicated problem with complicated answers, and we've got to make it simple for everyone to understand.
7th grade education.
Yeah, that's how they got away with the financial collapse. Was they was so damn complicated to figure out what they did wrong. I remember one person doing it on TV, and it took over 20 minutes. And they go, and so therefore these 3 people need to go to jail. And it's like, yeah, you already lost it. So really simple. Yes, California. Yes, California got started in 2015. Before anybody thought Trump was a real thing. We heard some jokes about him and thinking about running.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear. This movement goes back to 2014 with Obama. We were saying the same thing, never changed any of our talking points. Went to 2015, and we changed because Scotland was doing it so great, and nobody could spell sovereign. And then we said, well, let's go, more independent. That's edgy
I remember
across
the red
people.
bear logo.
Yeah. Well, we actually got the idea from Governor Brown. Governor Brown said, think of us as a separate nation.
Yeah.
China.
That
After,
was awesome.
yeah, once he did that, we were like, oh, I'm secede.
we're done.
You go, you crazy? And I go, well, then so's your governor.
Yeah, the governor.
Yeah,
He
the
just
governor's
hold this
all
poster
about it.
right in front. That
The governor
shut
just said it. Why?
anybody.
Every governor has said
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger said it
Because
way
they know-
before
because
that.
they know- They're massive.
No, they said we are a nation state, hinting that they were in a family of nations. Brown was the first one to ever straight up say separate nation. Ever. No one ever did that. Now Newsom does stuff like that. Now they kind of talk like that. He was the first one. Say what you will about Brown, first one ever to do it. When he did it, we realized it was okay to say secede. So he directly impacted the movement. That's
Oh,
real
dude.
history. Straight up. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm getting. I know.
No, let you
Hold on,
finish.
hold on.
No,
I'm going to grab you.
I'm already
notepad.
forgetting what I
I
wanted
know.
to say about him.
I'm going to get everybody
Say
notepads. Let me
what-
just get a couple points out, and then it's going to go to all of you. So then it went 2016. Trump wins. We're shocked. We grow 30,000% in a
2
week.
days.
Yeah, it was
It was
10,000
2 days.
people
It
on
was
Facebook.
November
It went to
9th and
like-
10th,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Went up to 45,000 people on Facebook from around 12 within a few days. Twitter,
Yeah.
same thing. Our email
Backdoor was
list
shut
blew
down.
up. I think we had like 7. I mean, we were in the game. Okay, we had been on TV. We had been on radio.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we-
I'm from Pennsylvania. I signed your petition.
yeah,
Fuck yes.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
it's
we were
not
getting
like we didn't have a
And
Donors
problem.
came
from all
here,
over
the
and
world.
came
Yeah.
here
Yeah, there
to
was.
support
yeah.
this movement and
Yeah.
to support this state and to be a part of this state because I think it's so great. I've
I-
been dreaming of coming to this state for years.
I don't want it to be like that again, bro.
I know. Let me just. I want to get the history out so that when people watching this, they know what we're jumping up and down about.
Go for it.
So they go, oh, this is what it is. So 2016, Trump gets big. We go stupidly large quick. I
Too
mean,
quick.
our email list went to 100,000 names within a week.
And no
and-
infrastructure to support.
And it was like 5 of us kind of like on the weekends when we had time. And then it's like you're going pro and you're doing it in 24 hours. And it's
Here's a
like, no,
nation
you're not.
builder.
So there was a lot of chaos. And Shankar went to some meeting and we didn't have anybody go because I couldn't respond. And there was 30
My
people.
first meeting, I had to leave.
30
I was like,
people pissed off because they wanted secession right then.
Oh my
And
god.
we were not
dude.
ready to respond to them.
It was
And
insane.
that's the way it was. So that when they say a third of
It was
California
insane, bro.
before this, that was real. And they won't want to bring that up. That was real. People were pissed we couldn't do it. So there was some frustration. Then there was some infighting because we got really big. People got big egos.
And the press. Don't
One in
forget the
particular.
press.
Well, I will point out that you had it was the CNP, which technically started before Trump. I'll give them that. They were there before Trump. They were actually trying to do the same thing as Yes. Although Yes predates them by about a year. They were there a full year before Trump. So
How are they
just
trying to do
to-
the same thing as yes when they're a political party?
Well, they wanted to do a meeting in the general concept of
Oh,
wanting
sure,
to be more
independence.
independent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
they said you're going to be activists. We'll do politics. So great.
yeah.
And they're still there. Then we got big, and then it was infighting, and then there was CFC to try to get away from all the infighting. That was the original idea. Was some of us were going, there's too much
And the
infighting.
media. And the media.
We'll make another group,
Right.
and we put Cindy Sheehan there, and we go, here's
Yeah,
a big
Cindy.
star. Here we got a new leader, no ties to the previous organizations, either one. If you are upset
Yeah.
about whatever, just go join this other group. And then something happened over there. I don't know. And then there was another group that came up.
I see.
Then there was Independent California, and Independent California was everybody who was burnt out from everything.
Yeah.
Burnt out from Yes, burnt out from CFC, burnt out from CNP, burnt out from everything.
But we took names as we kicked their
Well,
asses.
I have.
IC
Here's the
fuck
thing
it.
about IC. You're the last, but you're made exclusively of by and for veterans.
Yeah, dude.
Like there's no novices. It was all
No.
people who like I've been in an
Yes,
organization
North and
and I know what I
Yeah.
didn't like,
Yeah.
and that's
all
what
of
we're
us.
going to make
Yeah.
of this group.
That's right.
And so it has a different character. Now we have 4, and I really like the 4, and I want us to get those 4 to grow.
We may
And
still not be
Yeah,
done.
I-
because there's something.
Give me 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. I'm sorry.
Oh, 2 more minutes. Damn.
Please, I'm going to be quiet for like an hour.
God, I don't think so.
Mark was quiet for an hour.
No.
So then we had this unity conference. It was the first time the 4 groups were allowed to publicly say hi. We have been unwilling to even publicly say, I will meet with you or even talk with you publicly. It was, yeah, I'll talk to you. Don't tell No, I'm not joking.
No, I
So when I was there and I looked
at
at Theo and I go, "This is the first
told him
time."
that so many
and like
times, bro.
Stephanie Kamari was on me about it, and she's right to be. She's like, "We need to start having joint messaging." And I go, "Stephanie, you're right." And I gotta say hello to this dude for the first time in 3 expletive years this week, and you're talking
Theo?
about So huge moment.
Okay.
We've got to improve. I'll stop. Kiki, and then Shankar, then Kiki.
You got something to say, Kiki?
I just have to say that the presentation from the people who did the Cascadia movement was, we don't need to take a page from their book, we need to take their book. And we need to really study it and see where we can take, and it works for us, and where it doesn't, because they've been in it 20 years, and we've only been in it a couple of years, but I do believe that they've got a process that's really, really, really effective. I mean, I heard of Cascadia
Scrap paper.
from, and I lived in Pennsylvania, so I found their presentation just to be top notch. I found that they had really good salient points on how to get their message across. And
Awesome.
I just think that's it. And Shankar, you.
And I
So
just-
no.
Scotland's example also.
Thank
is-
you,
is
thank
a
you.
great one.
All right.
That's all.
Yes. Yes.
God, there goes the
After
Eagles
15
again.
minutes, after 15 minutes. No. I gotta go, guys. I got an appointment here in never. So look, okay, check it out. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start on. And after everybody spoke, when Hal said that he finally put faces to a name about 30 minutes ago, I gotta say these conferences here and in the one up north, you finally put a face to these people that you've only talked to on the phone.
Right.
Planned events on the phone and get reports from them online. You never ever actually see them, and finally to see them and meet them, it was great. Like John Pomeroy, dude.
Yeah,
I always see John Pomeroy's name pop up here, pop up there. People talk about him, and I'm like, who the fuck is this John Pomeroy motherfucker, right? And finally, I talked to him on the phone once, and he wanted like CFC to back an event up, and he put me in touch with and it turned out it was like some street party or something. I'm like, I can't give money to this guy. I don't even know him, right? Dude, met the guy? Love him. We should have been hanging out with John Pomeroy forever, right? I mean, we should have been teaming up at Palms forever, man. I love that
And
guy.
he came in suited up.
He came and suited up.
Showed up.
Surprised me.
And you know what? I forgot what everything I was going to say, but I do know what from what Marcus was saying in regards to the groups. I've been in every group, and I hope it doesn't go down the same way it went down in 2016, because we were absolutely unprepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally overnight. My first meeting that I was officially going to, I've already been talking to Lewis, and I've already been talking to Marcus, and I've already been, I'm in OC leadership, and I've been working with some other people in Orange County, and we've been talking together, and finally we have our first meeting, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take some notes and listen to what's going to go on. Well, I'm there with about maybe 40 other people in Orange County, legitimate homeowners, businessmen, parents, college kids, Trumpers, and this is my meeting that I had at because it's a suggested area, so it was across the street from my apartment, and I'm waiting for, I forgot the dude's name, to show up. Dude never shows up. I'm the only one with a blue shirt, and so guess who got to lead that meeting? Me, who absolutely had nothing. I'm literally reading the Yes Cal handbook and going along with it, trying to explain it to people, and all of a sudden, that meeting turned into debates between they were debating each other on how California should separate, and I had no idea how to control these people, man. I mean, I just had no idea. That was my first meeting. And then a month later, I went to Long Beach.
Yeah.
To a coffee shop. Supposed to have a meeting there. I walk in. I'm the only one with a blue shirt. I'm like, where is everybody? How come there's nobody here? The coffee shop is packed, right? Full of people talking, doing their little coffee thing. And I'm like, I wonder where everybody is. I go up the counter, I order a Coke, I go back outside. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take off my jacket, wear this shirt out so people know. So I'm standing on the sidewalk, and I'm standing there, and one guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, are you here for yes?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." One guy comes, a second guy comes. Turns out, like a majority of the people that were outside and the tables were coming for the meeting. I'm like, yeah, we were inside. We saw you outside. I went inside the coffee house.
Right.
I announced, "Is anybody here for Yes California Independent?" 80% of the coffee shop stood up and raised their hands.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so now I'm
insane.
sitting here talking to everybody inside this coffee shop, Java something. And the people in there said,
Java
you
time.
can't do that. That's kind of
outrageous.
disrespectful to the rest of the guests. You have to go outside. So we pour outside onto PCH,
Yeah.
about 40 to 50 people in Long Beach on the sidewalk right there, talking about what the next move is. What do you want us to do? And I was like, where the fuck is the guy supposed to do? And again, another rep is supposed to come down and deliver the speech, and there's nobody there but me. And I did the best I could. And then some federal agents came up. They were in the crowd. They wanted to know who the fuck I was and where Marcus was and where Lewis is. And I was just like, oh shit, what the hell did I get myself into? This fucking crap, dude. But that was the first, that was like, that was what, July or August of 2016. And that's, I don't want that to happen again. Because when we get an email, active email, people email us like that again, guys, we have to capitalize on that. I'm not going to fail on that again.
Yeah, everybody has to be walking
Well,
in the talk.
Well, let it be a cautionary tale, and we have 9 months, like Marcus said, to get ready because that's when, again, 2016 is going to happen all over, but stronger, probably, even than before.
I can tell you what happens if we're not ready. Because it was only about 2-3 months later that I met you guys.
Yeah.
Same coffee shop.
Sure. Yeah, that's where was our meeting shop.
Same coffee shop. I walked in, it's like I hear about these meetings. I come down to the coffee shop. I walk in, and there's this fellow in his basically suit and a tie.
Don Sutton.
Yeah, shirt and he's
Oh,
in,
that's
or he's in a shirt and a tie. He's taking the suit coat off, put on the back of a chair. He's got a Yes California shirt on over his business shirt and tie. He looks like the most uncomfortable human being I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, I walk up to him and like, "Hi, my name's Hal, and I'm interested in the California independence and good week." And he's all of a sudden he's like, "Oh well, sit down." And we're talking, and he's very effusive and
Salesman.
And I'm kind of like going, "Okay, this is way. This is. I thought there'd be people. I thought there'd be people here."
Yeah.
But that meeting was just Dawn and I and like 2 other people.
I was there too.
It's like 3. It's like 3. So if we don't capitalize,
That was a petition meeting.
the air goes out of the room really, really fast.
Can I share my
Hold
backstory?
on, one second, real quick. Just before that, about the Unity conference. So one of the things I proposed was a Unity symbol. I don't know if you saw the my speech or not.
No,
Yeah.
I heard it already. Heard it.
So the Unity
First
symbol. Look,
Yeah.
Hannah, we're gonna talk afterwards. We have to talk afterwards. I hope you adopt the Unity symbol. At least, I hope.
Well, since I have the Adobe Illustrator skills, it'd probably be the person to chat with. Yeah.
So I mean, if the liberation movement, whatever you're gonna call it.
I mean, I can just give you a symbol and you do whatever you want with it. I don't have to go and support it right away. You know what I mean? I'm happy to just be the
It's just
the
a symbol.
milkmaid, the
It's
nursemaid.
just a symbol. It's just a symbol that shows that you're with.
That we're unified.
Yeah, that we're
Everybody has
That's
the
all.
same
You can call it
symbol.
what you want as long as.
It's a red pill.
It's the
It's a
CIM.
red pill. Get out of here.
Basically, it's a CIM logo. What we're creating is a CIM,
Right.
the California Independent Movement logo. That's what we're creating.
So I just thought I'd give you my little backstory in case you ever want to know.
Go
about
for it.
So yeah, if you didn't know, I mean, like, so I'm like, first I moved to California in April of 2016, and from Hawaii for about 10 years I was in Hawaii. Hawaii is interesting because, of course, over there they already have an independence movement. They've had one for a long, long time. But I'll also tell you what's wrong with it. And I was never part of that. I was part of the Democratic Party, which is by far the most powerful political organization in the state of Hawaii, in the Hawaiian Islands, I should say. But yeah, I'm like, I was on Twitter and stuff, and people were starting to tumble toward. There was a lot of tension about the election going on in November 2016, late October 2016, and that's probably when I started saying, "Oh, what are we going to do if Trump were to win? or what's his chances of winning, and all the rest. But I will like to make a claim that I think I was definitely one of the first people to go from secession to independence, because I have a blog post still up on the internet, November 7, 2016, where I say we should be an independence movement. And because we're not seceding from anything, we were never supposed to be here in the first place. I think that's a very powerful argument to make. People can argue with that on that. You get them to argue at that point. Well, you really were, should have been, whatever. You just get them back into now they're playing on your field, right? They're playing your game on your field. Let them go and try to argue history. History is very clear. Now, California was sitting peacefully all by itself. The United States Army and the Navy just came in at once. No one can argue with that. There's literally a stone monument in Monterey where you can go and look at it. This is exactly where the United States Navy put its foot down. Okay. So, anyways,
Veracruz.
but as far as the organizing goes, I still wasn't really active at all. I happen to be also, I should tell you that, I spent 10 some years in a PhD program at the University of Hawaii in sociology. One thing I studied a lot was social movements. So to me, I'm taking everything here from a perspective of this is how social movements succeed, this is how they fail, this is how they break up, this is what social movements, most importantly, this is what social movements do. And I think that, but I could probably also say that I was actually involved in the Sierra Club from about 91 to 94. And before that, I was involved with Minnesota Public Interest Research Group, a PIRG, in the state of Minnesota. That was from 91 all the way to 1982. Why? Because I was one of the first people who knew about personal computers. Plus, technically, I was only a few years not a student in that period, because I also took 3 years. I was like the computer guru in this organization, so that still stuck around. And then I went to law school. So technically, I was still in the PIRG system. You had to be, you should be a student to be involved. And I've been on the boards of all things. But so that means I can tell you that I have an experience of 1982 of people coming up saying, I'm glad you're here. And you know what? You should be doing this. Or you guys should be doing that. When, of course, organizing is all really about getting other people to get involved and going off and do this, that, and the other thing. Hopefully, another thing I've always found in my life is very, very, very few people are ever upset about joining something that's already running. There's a few people who feel like I should have been involved, but most of this the slang we used to use in the movement was plug in. You need to plug yourself into something.
That's it. Yeah.
And now you're an active participant. And that, I just want to point that out, that it's really about organizations. They're necessary for legal purposes. You got to have a board if you're going to, and nonprofits and all this stuff. But if you haven't got any money and everyone's just doing their own thing, I could probably tell you, remember about Abby Hoffman and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm like 2 degrees actually I've met Abby Hoffman. Okay, yeah. I met back in before he died in '89. So
It's kind of hard to do after.
Obviously he was dead, yeah. Before he was dead. But 7 years before that I knew Abby Hoffman and stuff like that. And we were doing Hoffman-style activism in Minnesota, especially over nuclear weapons, things like that. For instance, I remember once, we once protested the United States Air Force being on our campus by getting people to throw paper airplanes at it. Because, again, then there's a great example of how you could get people, it sounds silly, it is silly, and everybody, it doesn't require a great deal of commitment from anybody. It just sounds like, but it's funny, you haven't done it before, it's a lark. And I'm just emphasizing that, we need to figure out how to get people involved. Because remember again, I think we probably got over 9 million now. We used to have 9 million. I think we're probably, with the latest thing with the impeachment and stuff, I'll bet you're at least at 12, or you probably have turned over. Because remember, out of that 9 million, there was another 6 million. There were 9 million supporters of independence in 2017, and there were 6 million independent or undecideds. 6 million undecideds. I bet you've already persuaded 3 million of those. So you're probably at 12. I'm going to bet, and that's conservative speaking. I'm not guessing. So, anyways, now how do you get those 12
people?
million people? How do you get those 12 million people? If you get a fraction of those 12 million people doing something, and you will have you will become the most powerful organization in California.
Matt, then Daniel, then Hal.
Well, I don't want to talk much about myself other than to say that I'm a lifelong socialist. And so when I found out about this flag behind us, I go, oh my God! Okay. But I want to speak to the point of a couple of the organizations in our movement that haven't been mentioned so far. Well, one has and one hasn't. One is, and I count them very much as a part of our movement, the MIBC of Baja. You're talking about going back to 2014. They go back to 2012. They go back to a stolen election. The present Mexican president had an election or two stolen from him. And that had happened so often in Mexican politics that they says, you know what? We can do it better. And so they founded an independence movement that at the time was the PPT, which was the Peninsular Party, to reunify and secede together the two Mexican states. Okay. And then MIBC expanded the ambit, and then they heard about us. Okay. Particularly after 2016. Okay. But they had been around since 2012. They have won a majority of the citizens of Baja California over to independence, something we're still working on. They won them over. I mean, sure, there's 4 million of them, but they won them over. Okay. And so you talk about, well, we're on the same page. They're ahead of us in every sense. MIBC is not only on the same page, they've turned pages that you saw the video. You saw the video. They are ahead of us. They are very ahead of us. Now, let me tell you a story about the other part. That's Return California. This starts when I bring this battle jack to a powwow at San Manuel, and I tell them about the independence movement. It's like, bam! You want to take away all our hard-earned, federal treaty rights and just throw it out in the trash? Get away. So it was the first rejection. And that's forced us to start thinking, isn't it? And
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
And how we should respond to that. And so the first draft of our response to that, about returning federal land, came out, and I look at that and I go, oh, this could end up a settler Israel and an indigenous Palestine. That's exactly, by the way, how they looked at it over in AIM. Okay, when we submitted that.
One group out of many that reviewed it and did not come to that conclusion. Just want to put that in there.
But that rejection forced us to work even harder. Okay, and that helped us. Those rejections were tremendously helpful. They forced us to work harder on the not just the concept, but the praxis of independent California. Hence the first listening session. Okay. And now we're working diligently on the second. But let me give you the good news. The good news is that we have attracted the attention not only of MIBC. I'm making Facebook friends with a bunch of people in MIBC all up and down the peninsula. I'm also making friends with Zapatista supporters.
Really?
Yeah. That's where I come from originally. Great guy. Is right after the committees of correspondence sort of went fizzle in '92. Okay. Started working in that field. I was there when there was, it wasn't Zapatistas. It was an allied group called FAC MLN in the 7th region, the exterior region. Okay, I was at their conference, and like a lot of these, it went and, But yeah, I was there. So I was involved for a number of years in the struggle to bring liberty, justice, and democracy to Mexico. Okay, was in contact and heard their critiques of each other and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, I come out of that. And then come, the come up from behind of AMLO, ditching PRD. I was there when Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas spoke at UCR. You know who he is? He was the founder of the PRD. He walked like AMLO walked out of the PRI, okay, because of corruption. And so he tried to run as an independent candidate, and that didn't work. And then he tried to, he organized a political party to back him, PRD, and they still couldn't get him elected. Okay, he did become the mayor of Mexico City, but the problem was that so many Perredistas were ex-priistas that they began to behave corruptly. That's why AMLO left. And he found it, again, he tried to run as an independent. And, he really had it stolen from him, just like Cuauhtemoc Cárdenas had it stolen from him.
Can I want to add one thing. I just want to say
Daniel
one thing.
really hasn't been able to
No,
say.
hold on. I remember what I was going to say, bro.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it was unfair. So look, in regards to Baja California, in regards to that, I'm all about their independence. I can't see California helping Baja until California gets its independence. I think it'd be a total. Oh, you want to
I
counter
will
that?
respond to that.
Because I mean, it just seems
You
like.
guys cut off Daniel. He was next.
We're not
to
gonna go
Daniel,
back-
and we actually
back
like.
Go ahead, bro.
I want to say my
Can
thing,
I
and I can
remind
let
everybody,
you.
the whole point of this panel was the unity
Yes,
conference
exactly.
and concepts about
Thank you
unity.
very much.
Just-
I'm gonna bring it
Just to
back.
politely put that out.
I'm
there.
sorry.
I'm gonna
I know
bring
we're
it
supposed to
back
be united in
to-
nations, but it's hard. It's a hard game.
Can you say what you need to say, and then can we get on to Daniel, please?
I'm sorry.
I'll
That's
let
my
you-
opinion, bro.
I let
That's
you
my
guys
opinion.
speak.
Yeah, that's your point. Dan,
It's
It's just my opinion. Go ahead, Dan.
Do you want to respond to that specific point? Because I want to say something directly.
No, but you can respond after I say my thing
All right,
because
fine,
then I'll
I'll
let you
hold
guys
it. I'll
talk
hold it.
all you want. But what I just want to say is a continuation of the Unity Conference, which we kind of like. It's okay to talk about all this, but we were here for the Unity Conference. What does that mean? What did we accomplish? What I want to say is the reason we got divided. Shankar mentioned media. I think that's very little. We imploded ourselves. We have to take responsibility. There were egos. We were passionate. That's what activists are. And the movement grew. But why did the movement grow to this point? Because we grew. Because we tailored our passion. Because we said, yeah, we're still going to be passionate about what we feel, but we're going to listen to other people's passion. And they may not be saying like, Matt's into Baja California. Hannah might be into something else, Shankar. They're all valid points. And we took that passion and instead of saying, listen to me, I'm right, I'm this and that, we tailored our passion. We said we can accept each other, which is very hard for beginning organization. Passions, egos get in the way. I think we've come to that plateau where Hannah was saying to attract people now. We're in such a better position because they used to come into our organization and see everybody like all over the place yelling, no, I don't agree with you. We weren't even in agreement with ourselves. How could we get people to join us? So there's going to be other passionate people like us. But if they see we're organized passionately and we give them a voice with their passion where their egos don't take over because we've already gone through that shit. We've established it. There's no room for it. Then I think we could be successful in bringing people. So that's all.
Thank you,
And I
Dan.
want to congratulate everybody really at the end that we got this far. We should pat each other.
We should.
We should pat each other on
Yeah.
the shoulders. All right, now you could go.
Please.
I would like to. No, it's fine. It's Mike. I thought about this a lot. Okay. First thing I would contend. I think the two movements strengthen each other. They're like two pillars that lean against each other. In other words, as people say, you want California to become independent of the United States of America? Are you crazy? But then if Baja California is about to become independent of Mexico, well then people are going to say, well, if they're doing it, what about us? And it's the same thing. Baja people realize 39 million people, that's a super state. And they're lean, so they're gonna it's in their interest to almost help push us out of the union because they would like to have a big powerful friend, a big powerful rich friend, who, don't forget, have many former Baja California residents living in California. Many Baja California people work in California, come here every single day.
Yeah.
About that.
So for those two factors, this is all sort of thing going on. So I'm just saying that, in other words, I get your point, But I do believe that the two things they're leaning into, in other words, they're strengthening us because the
Yes.
more success they have, people are gonna realize. Now
I like to change my opinion.
You're changing your opinion.
because I
After
because I
convincing
haven't
you.
gone there. Yeah, well, I haven't gone down there. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't even studied the matter. It just seems like more to take on. But no, and you're probably right. It might even help us. So
It
I'll
helps
have
us.
to research it a little bit more.
And also, it helps us, I forgot you broke up my concentration. I'm sorry. No, that's okay. I was going on something else, but that's it. I think with this two pillars lean together, they make it both seem real, and of course, don't forget Baja's already left to it, right? They've gone to that next point.
Yes.
If California becomes independent, then we want to be united with California.
That's what they had said.
They say that over and over again, and I
Yes.
certainly appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
Do we hear from Hal?
On which topic?
Well, you've got a long
I
list
got a
there. I
crazy
can see
idea.
there
Since
what
the
you've written
panel's
down.
about the Unity Conference and Unity, do you have any
Well-
thoughts about the Unity Conference or Unity?
And actually, it's like, yes.
Great. Could we hear about
Terrific.
this, please?
For as far as Baja goes in the Unity Conference, for just a moment, to me, there's no bad in this. There's no bad in this. This is a statement of potential from where I sit, and that's terrific. That's great. From the Unity Conference, what I've been furiously writing down here is kind of summing up, going, working together again. It opens up, the thing that strikes now is that it opens up possibilities and talent and a talent pool that each of the organizations may have been lacking. The ability to working together now, it basically allows us to start to talk about, and if we can do that, if we can get those communication lines open, we can start to talk about playing to our strengths instead of basically each individual organization having to do what we have been doing, which is trying to get around our weaknesses, trying to find ways to accomplish things given the limits of maybe finances or talents or what have you. It comes down to the questions start to come into working together. We can start asking ourselves the real questions, the nuts and bolts questions. What do we need? What do we bring? What can we do? And how can we get there together? Which is the four big questions here. What are our specialties? Where's our strengths? How do we play to those strengths? It was great seeing these people. It was great being in that room. I said nothing that entire conference.
I believe it.
Really?
Yeah.
I told them all very simply. I've come to listen. I came to listen. I'm the new kid on the block, believe it or not. I mean,
You're not, buddy.
no, really. Considering that everybody's been working together since 2015, 2014, I was like, I met up with Don Sutton in that coffee shop way back when things started to blow up. So I wasn't there for it. I wasn't there for the problems. So to me, it was all gravy. It was a chance to hear what these people who have been there longer than I have had to say.
Yeah.
I owed them that. Honestly, I owed them that. These are the people who've been in this movement since the beginning of since the beginning of the movement. I did not want to come in there going, well, hi, my name's Hal, and this is how I think it should be. That would have been a little assumptive on my part. So it was good to hear them. It was great to hear them. Now it's like I can put on my independent California hat and the organizational hat and say, okay, who's got these talents? What are these talent pools? How do we make this happen?
Get the door there.
Cool.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think the Baja people are great. I think it's terrific. We will owe them to have our ducks in a row when we start to work.
Yeah, we need to have our
We will owe them to have our ducks in a row. when we start to work with the other groups up north, we will owe them not only for us to have our ducks in a row, but to allow them to get theirs in a row.
Yes.
To allow them to get themselves organized and get themselves pulled into position. They've said that the California National Party says they've been kind of on hibernation. Okay, that means that we need to give them an opportunity. If we can help them in some way with re-energizing their efforts, if we can reach out, I think that's great. I think it's a good thing. I think that's something we can do. I would like to see us start to take on, like I said, our strengths. I would like to see the CMP start to act like the political party.
I just want to speak about Cascadia a bit, though.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please.
I would like to urge people to try to pressure them with a couple of things. Number one is, I'm not surprised they've been organized for 20 years because I see this group as having no real impetus. Right? I'm thinking in my head, 2022. That's when we're making the break. But the other thing I'll point out to you is there's only 9 million people up there.
Right.
They're much less ethnically diverse than California. They have a much small, and the second problem is there's this cop out they've made of this bioregion idea. Take a look at this map here, folks. Ecoregion probably starts in Bellingham, runs down to Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, includes Olympic Peninsula, I guess, Aberdeen,
They
whatever.
include portions of Canada.
Well,
Yeah.
bless them
Everybody.
hearts. Vancouver, Vancouver,
They go clear to Angry.
Washington, Portland, Salem, and Eugene.
Uh-huh.
And that's it.
Yeah.
What about all of the Eastern Washington, all of Eastern Oregon?
Nazis.
Well,
No, let me finish, please. Part of the challenge of building a nation is compromise. It's that, in other words, organizing with people who just think just like you is not as hard as trying to build a nation state with disparate people. I think we've done enormous things because here in California, we've got 2 major megalopolises. Each one is a world city. And, and I point out to you the short distances. I mean, Bellingham to Salem is probably about the distance from Sacramento to San Jose. And that's one, and that's just one huge molecular. And of course, the population's 9 million up there, and I don't know how many there are, probably like 15, 20 million in that Bay, East Bay, Sacramento area.
Yeah.
So anyway, just point out that their challenges are a lot of ways a lot smaller. But I would like us as sort of like good offices or something to sort of gradually propose to them that one, they should see. The reason why I've always included Idaho in my imaginary Pacifica is because I know Eastern Washington. I actually have family from Spokane. I have literally I have knowledge of Washington. And Spokane is like this with Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Okay?
Oh.
And Walla Walla, Washington is like this with Moscow, Idaho. That line is a little straight line drawn down the side by Congress many years ago. It means nothing.
It's the other Inland Empire.
Right. The Bitterroots, which is the line between Montana and Idaho, there's a real geographic border.
Yeah.
So I believe that.
Something Rocky Mountains. Something.
Right. So I'm just saying that Eastern Washington's important. Also, then there's the other thing of the fact that, so anyways, I want to point out that we just want to persuade folks that they should be thinking about, to prevent anarchy. One thing about history should tell us is people get used to borders. And there is a border between Washington and Idaho.
Right.
There is no border, and what do you
in California.
What? Well, yeah, our border, right, I know that, I'm well aware that our borders between particularly California and Nevada is a real arbitrary thing that was just drawn in 1849.
Ever seen how the states got their shape? California drew that border through Lake Tahoe to capture the silver fields. Yeah, gold and silver fields.
I don't want to get on. I'm just saying the fact that when we interchange with Cascadia, I think the two pieces is one saying, think of yourself as a state, not a bioregion, please. two,
Or a nation.
Your nation.
well, right, and as part of our nation or part of our federation,
Mm.
and two, please give yourself a timeline. Not someday, somewhere, somehow in the future.
Right.
But because now I also, but it goes back to the Baja thing too, right? That the more successful our movement is, the more they're going to be talking
yeah.
about it.
Mm.
Because ultimately, I'm going to pull that's one, as we all know. I'll remind you one more time, right? You take Washington, Oregon, and California out, the United States of America is no longer a Pacific nation.
That's right.
It is completely transformed as a country.
Mhm.
Its history will suddenly go a different direction.
The
Guys, I have to get going.
Thank you, Shankar.
Dana, I want to talk to you later on. I'll give you a call.
the two points on the Cascadia
Graphics.
movement that actually Marcus and I discussed. One of them is, as you were saying, California versus Cascadia is a vastly
water,
bigger
please.
political lift.
Yeah.
Vastly bigger. In some ways, the Cascadia movement doesn't need to be more than a social club because, truth to be honest, coming into the second part of that, they're not under attack.
Mm.
Not yet.
It's Cascadia, Washington State itself is not in the direct line of fire of the federal government. They're not seeing. They're not. I mean, I have not heard anyone in the federal government basically talk about the evils of Washington State or Cascadia or Oregon.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, comparatively, they're not politically powerful enough to be a thorn in their side. California is under direct attack. California is massively more diverse. Not only they talked about bioregion, and I'm like, well, what you should do in California is look at yourself as a bioregion. And I'm like, which one?
Right.
Yes,
Seven.
we had
Which one? Yeah, well, which one are we going to talk about? If we
we're not a bioregion.
yeah, we have every bioregion you can possibly name.
Look at San Diego County. I look at the other day. I saw a map of San Diego County. Of all the organized towns.